Well, hello everyone. This is the Tenkaichi of gaming, otherwise known as Pookie Izzy 7, otherwise known as Ichigo Musco. I've been trying to search for the proper picture for what I'm going to say, and the only thing I can think of is, well, this image. This image, of course, is, if you can't see it, it is the yin-yang symbol. Well, it's a variation of the yin-yang symbol. Since I go by the law of balance, that's what I live by. I live by balance. And for those who know me, I've been through a lot. And I do mean a lot. Not this week, but I mean, I went through a lot in my life. I had my share of victories and defeats. And the one thing I know is that I can't change who I am. Nor the fact that I want to change who I am. The things that go on in my mind are what makes me me. I rarely do talk about myself, and when I do, it's usually something pertaining to my past. Usually, I talk about the things that happened to me in my past. But I never explain how it all happens. Some things are best left unsaid, and some things are better left to be explained. It's hard being me, really. I'm somewhat surrounded by daily quarrels, the constant tug of war of who gets a bigger ego, and the usual case of when am I actually going to sell something? When am I actually going to do something? For as you guys know, I am an author. The thing is, business hasn't been doing so well. I just first started off. That doesn't mean I don't stop trying to do what I can. And of course, you know me online as an LPer. The most underrated LPer ever known. Why I mention this is simply because I'm not as popular as most of the other LPers out there on YouTube. I mean, I would like to be. But you can't please everybody. Especially when you try to share a bit of yourself to the cyber world. I mean, most of you know. But yes, I have cerebral palsy. And I have petit mal. I'm proud to say that I do have cerebral palsy. You know why? Because considering the fact that there are people much worse off in my situation, I can still walk and I can still talk and hold a thought at the same time. My life, of course, was very much hard when I was told I had cerebral palsy. Mainly, one arm longer than the other. It's pretty rough on a child, especially if it's me. Now, when I was younger, I had it worse. I not only had cerebral palsy, but I also had echolania. And if you don't know what echolania is, it's like you're hearing an echo inside your ear. And I couldn't stand loud sound. So when I was a kid, and I used to play my Nintendo, what I did was I turned the sound down really low. It's not because I didn't like the I didn't want to hear the sound. I didn't want to hear the sound. I didn't want to get the feedback that it would give to me. Like, I could hear it normally, but it would somehow double upon the feedback of hearing it. So it would be ringing my ears, so I couldn't really stand it. I also had a lisp problem when I was a child. I really couldn't say certain words so well. Yet I was very gifted. I mean, 5 years old, I could say homogenize. But could I possibly spell it? Yeah, sure, I could possibly spell it. But I had the usual problems. I was mainly teased as a child, namely because of my appearance. One side was shorter than the other. When I walked, I usually held my arm up. I don't know, well, I shouldn't say up. It was to around my stomach. I always used to walk like my arm could not be normal. And to this day I can still do it. But I can now just be casual about it. And yet for the longest time, I really didn't understand. Well, actually I could understand. But for the longest time I never understand why I did that. Maybe I wanted to show to the world that I am playing the fool, or I am the fool, or however or whatever the world thought of me. I live by everybody else's expectations, which as a child, you know, you had to live up to your parents' expectations because they expect so much of you. And yet, when you do live up to the expectations, they become proud, you become proud, all's right with the world. I remember when my dad told me something long before his death, and he told me this while I was a child. He said, "Boy, let me tell you something. Somebody ever gets in your face, you punch them right out. You give them a black eye or a bloody nose. For most of my life, since I've been teased and harassed because not only did I have a disability, but I also was very bright and intelligent. And that's mainly why I was the target of so many attacks. Because I was mainly intelligent. Most kids didn't like that, and, well, they wanted to give me a black eye or bloody nose. Usually, I wouldn't fight. I wouldn't fight if need be. For the most part that I need to fight, I would have to, as precaution, defend myself. Even though I had no kind of martial arts training or whatever. I didn't know karate. I didn't know judo. I didn't know jiu-jitsu. I really couldn't take any courses because I was treated like the boy in a plastic bubble. Because since I was being treated so delicately, I'm special. So therefore, I had to be treated with special care. I look back at those days, and if I had a time machine, and I can go back to when I was younger, really, if I could see myself when I was so many years younger, like say 28 years younger, had I known then what I know now, I really wouldn't have the problems that I face now like I did then. But I regret nothing for what happened to me thus far. The things that happen around me and the things that happen before me, it just happens. I mean, there's nothing I can do that is beyond my control. I mean, I'm now an author. Not a very well-known author yet, but I am still an author nonetheless. I am also an online personality, which I am the one-man entertainment show, as you know, as I'm going through Phoenix Wright and all that. You're probably wondering why, when I first started out, I called myself the underdog of the underrated. Well, you see, that's how my life was. I was the underdog. And you can always root for the underdog. Because you never know what the underdog can do. I mean, he can suck really hard in a fight. But the resilience is through the roof. His resilience can be through the roof. Because even if he can't fight, the will to stand up is strong. I think that's how it is for me. Even though I've been through many fights in my life. It didn't have to be fist fights. There are fights of a different kind. Growing up without, growing up without a father for like over 20 some odd years, that has been like the most epic fight I've ever been through. And yet, I always managed to hold a vigil for my late father. Because regardless of what's going on now, I never tend to forget the past. That is the one thing that I always treasured. I always treasured who was in my heart, be it family or friends. I treasured them very greatly and very deeply. I can say this: I had met very few people on here. People that I considered my friends, my closest comrades. And that explains why, for the most part, whenever I do an RPG, I slap their names in there. Whether they be past or present, that's the reason why I slap them in there. Just to honor their friendship. Because, it goes so far as to say, thanks for being there. I mean, that's my thanks. I mean, really, that is my thanks. So, to me, it is the best way I can say thank you to the various support I usually would get. Whether I would get one comment, or I get 2 comments, or hell, even 10 comments. It doesn't matter what the number. What matters is that swallow my way. What matters is that the people I befriended along the way, be it in real life or online, it really does mean a lot to me. I mean, really, it says a lot. It really does say a lot. Like in my book, there are a few characters I honor because even though they're no longer here within this world, they're in my heart. So that is, if you ever bought my book and you wondered who was who, yeah, that would explain a lot. I mean, most people I know who actually have very little to no intelligence say, hey, you're not a Let's Player, you're this. Yeah, you know what, fuck you. There you go. I mean, I can still defend myself, and if need be, I can call forth my friends and say, look, this is what this son of a bitch said. You want to take a crack at him? Here you go. And, let them handle it. I don't have to get my hands dirty. I mean, if I need to bloody someone up, I will bloody someone up. But that's a choice that I'd rather take for myself. I said, should this person who somewhat insulted me desire something very punishable, even though I couldn't really physically do it? It depends. If it's hurtful, if it's toward my family or my comrades, yeah, you bet your ass I'm going to say, no, you don't say that. You take it back and whatnot. That's how it is. I mean, I don't know if I am, like, the most hated amongst trolls. I mean, I am, like, I don't know. The stuff I do is like, oh, yeah, I'm an idiot and everything else and whatnot. Blah, blah this, blah, blah that. Like, I give a fucking shit. I've been called worse. I've been called a retard in public. In a store, no less. By someone who doesn't even know the meaning of the word retard. I said, yeah, I guess I am a retard because I've seen people uglier than you. And I don't mean physically. I've seen people uglier than you. Sometimes, you know, it's my wit that saves my ass sometimes. And it kind of moves on, you know, whether I'm loved or hated, you know, it's just nature of the beast. Nobody actually gives a rat's ass if they like me or not. I mean, sure, I may not pull in a lot of subscribers, but damn it, I'm going to say what I have to say because I feel it's necessary to say it. Moving on. Now, most of you are wondering why I call myself the Tenkaichi of gaming. Well, for those who don't know, Tenkaichi means, in Japanese, unique, the strongest, the best of the best. I consider myself, personally, to be the best of the best. I've been through a lot of stuff in my life. I've conquered them. I've basically gotten through the worst jams in my life. Hell, I could have been dead in Japan, but I'm still alive. So therefore, I feel I've earned that title being called the best of the best. Therefore, Tenkaichi. It really is called the number one. The number one strongest. The number one best. That's what Tenkaichi means. But, really, I like to say my motif is just that. My motif is that I want to continue being the best of the best. And even if sometimes that life may be a little bit unfair, I'd like to consider that my life, so far, I don't know, should be inspiring to others, if anything short. I usually don't hear that I'm an inspiration to people who have a disability, people who are Let's Players or starting off in the Let's Play industry or just being a Let's Player in general. I've never heard many compliments in my life, really. I haven't. Other than school, I haven't really heard that many compliments. I mean, being told to me, you know. I mean, every so often I would hear it, but, you know, not like in comment form or something like that, you know. But, I mean, you know, I feel that's what should be expected. I mean, not expected, but what you should expect to be. You should expect to be the best, you know. You're supposed to aim for the ace. You're not supposed to let life kick you down and therefore tick you off. It's like a popular saying, when life gives you lemonades. I mean, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Well, I like lemonade sometimes. I usually pick up some Minute Maid lemonade. Rather tart, but still good. But for the most part, hey, that's what I usually do. I mean, regardless of if somebody tells me, hey, you're not this, you're not that, I said, hey, at least I get paid, at least I get laid. There you go. I mean, for what it's worth, for all the hell that I've gone through in my life. Yeah, email. For what it's worth, yeah, I could take a few slugs to the face. I can take almost being strangled to death, suffocated to death, seeing myself dead in a dream, yet wake up like shit, but feel like $1,000,000 after I have my morning coffee. That's saying a lot. I mean, that really is. I mean, to understand me, you have to understand the method to my madness. The method to my madness is, well, whatever. I just go with it. Even if somebody had a bad day and they need to bitch and whine, I'll just be quiet. Let them get it out of their system. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if it's my if they're my best friends in RCO or if it's my family. It doesn't matter. I'll just be like, yeah, okay, yeah, sure. Although sometimes I kind of question, why do you have to come to me and bitch and whine and complain? How come you can't just say, oh, hi, Izzy, how's it going? Sometimes, I feel like I'm being taken advantage of, Not in that case. But I often feel like, I never mention it, but I often feel like I'm being, I often feel like, I'm just here as a decoration to some, or I'm just here because you had a rough day and you need somebody's ear. I guess if I'm that way, I suppose if the weight has to be on my shoulders to listen to your problems, then what you gonna do except say, but you are okay, right? You are still living, right? I mean, that's how it is sometimes. Sometimes you just gotta deal with the good as well as the bad. Or in this case, the bad to go along with the good. It's just like, yin yang. Sometimes you have to see the dark side as well as the light side. You just can't see light side all the time, nor can you see the dark side all the time. You have to have your balance. Namely, that's all I just want to have. I just want to have balance. Balance in my life. Regardless of what's going on. I want to be able to handle everything, handle it with a smile, a nod, take a deep sigh of relief and just say, okay, since you got that out of your system, do you feel better? And even if you say you guess or I suppose or yeah, I feel a little better. Okay then. I've done my job. Yeah, I feel like I've done a lot, even though it doesn't even feel like much. And most people don't understand, yeah. It's rough. Sometimes, for me, I don't even mention it. But it gets rough, really rough on me. I don't really mention that. Because, my problems aren't as big as what everybody else may be going through. I mean, my problems are about the size of a candy bar. About the size of Twix. In comparison to everybody else's problem. Because everybody has problems. I just want to try to become one of the problem solvers. Or at least try to make the world a little better with a nod, a simple handshake, pat on the back, something, anything. Don't care. That's why I consider myself to be striving to be the best of the best, or the best I possibly can be as a person. I think that's all we're striving for. Regardless of what's going on, regardless of what's going to happen, that's all I just want to do. Make the best of a bad situation, per se. Trying to make good out of a terrible situation. Try to offer advice when I can, whenever I can. I think we're all trying to do one thing after another. And like I mentioned before, or if I've not mentioned this, I don't know how many people actually listen to the sound of my voice whenever I do these videos. Whenever I take this time out just to say what is exactly on my mind. I don't know if I get a comment. I don't know if somebody's going to tell me on Skype, hey, I listened to your video. I'm not sure if I'm going to get some positive feedback, or something. Something other than great vid, something like that. I'm like, okay. Alright. All I can say is, I try to do what I can. I try to help out as much as I can when I can. And hopefully, if I can bring a smile to somebody's face, then I feel my job was worth it. That's what I honestly think. So, with that, folks, I have been the Tenkaichi of gaming. And thanks for listening and thanks for watching.